The last demonstration I want to look at is how undo can be implemented using a stack. Now what I'm going to show here is not an example of proper WPF design, and it's not an example of how undo should be implemented in every application. The point is to show how a stack can be used to store these operations in a last in first out order, and how that can be used to undo operations in this particular UI application. But these concepts are similar to how undo is implemented in many applications. So what we start with is a window. This window has three buttons, numbered 1, 2, and 3. These buttons all have the background color red. Now when I click on any of these buttons, what's going to happen is it's going to change the background color to some random color. And when it does that, it's going to store the state that the button was at prior to the click in the undo list. And that's going to allow us to make many changes, see what they are, and then undo them one at a time to get back to where we were. Let's just look at this a little bit and see that it makes sense. So I'll click on button 1. That changed it from red to kind of a chartreuse color. I'll click on 2, red to a blue, and 3 was red to a dark purple. Now you can see the top of the stack is 3, indicating button 3, and the F0 indicates that it used to be red. The 2 is indicating that button 2 is next, and the F0s are that it used to be red. And then after that, button 1 used to be red. So if I hit undo, what I would expect to happen, the top of the stack is item 3, would change back to red. And that's what happened. Now the stack only has 2 items in it. The next top is button 2, should be red, and now button 1 should become red. Now if I just go a little bit crazy clicking on these things somewhat randomly, you can see that it's storing a lot of values here with a lot of colors and the buttons in any order. But now if I start clicking undo, it's going to undo everything I just did. I'm not keeping track of the state in any other way. Red isn't hard-coded somewhere. It's just using the stack to store the changes that were made and to reverse the changes when undo is clicked. So let's go look at the code very briefly and see how this is done. So here we can see the XAML editor where I've laid out the 3 buttons, the list box for the undo display, and an undo button. Behind each of these is some actions. So let's look what happens when we click on button 1. Clicking on button 1 brings us to the button 1 click method. And what we do here is we push an undo action onto the undo operation stack. Let's go take a look at that stack real quick. So it's a stack of undo actions, and undo actions take a button, they store which button I changed, and they store the current button's brush for the background. Now the to string just displays the button number, the content, and the brush as a hex string. That's where we're getting the 1:FFFFOOOO, indicating that button 1 used to be red. So this is a very simple state that we're storing, just the control to update and the background color to apply when undo is applied. So the button 1 click pushes the undo operation for button 1. It then updates the background for the button to be some random brush. It doesn't matter. I just generate a few random bytes and then create a solid color brush from those 3 byte values. And then we update the list. Update list is where the list box items are added. I just clear out the list box each time and then enumerate the stack, adding the undo action string to the list box. Again, this is not an example of efficient or the best way to create a WPF application or to manage list box items. It's simply a quick and dirty way to demonstrate how a stack can be used for undo. Buttons 1, 2, and 3 all have basically the same behavior. Push the button state, update the button background, and then update the list. When the undo button is clicked, the stack of operations is looked at. If there's anything to do, the undo operation is popped and executed. Now, execute is a function on the undo action, and all it does is it sets the background of the button to the stored brush. So, for example, the background of button 1 will be set back to red. And then it updates the list of items in the list box. So really, it's a very straightforward application. Implementing undo really meant that we needed to have a stack of things that we're undoing. When actions that we wanted to undo occurred, the stack was updated, and when undo was hit, the most recent action was applied. So we can look at it one more time, and we can see that the buttons 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, we're going to reapply them to button 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1.